In this video, I'm going to show you how to differentiate all three of the functions on the screen in front of you. We're going to use the chain rule, the product rule, and make sure you watch the last one because I'm going to show you how to do it both with the product rule and with the quotient rule. So for this first question, we have to use the chain rule. And what we're going to do here is we're first going to write this out in exponential form. To write this out in exponential form, we need to remember that if we have a third root, it's the same thing as 1 over 3 as a power. And so that follows from the exponent rule that says the nth root of some base, a, is equal to that base to the power of 1 over n. So now that we have it written like that, we can go ahead and apply the chain rule. Now the outside function is what's in the brackets to the power of 1/3. So we begin by multiplying the 1/3 out in front, and we write everything that's in the brackets. And now we write the exponent as 1 less than 1/3. We subtract 1 from that. And so 1/3 minus 1 is negative 2/3. And so at this point, we've done that outside function. And now the chain rule says, now work on the inside of the function. And so we take the derivative of the inside. X squared's derivative is 2x, and 4x is 4, so 2x minus 4. So now what we can do is we can just simplify this. And we're going to multiply everything together and simplify it, noting that a negative exponent means that we could write it as 1 over a positive exponent. So that x squared minus 4x to the negative 2/3 comes to the bottom, and we write that as positive 2/3. And then the 2x minus 4 stays in the top. Now at this point, we could also recognize that we could common factor out a factor of 2 out of the numerator. And so we could write this as 2 times x minus 2 all over 3 times what we had still in the bottom. But I'm going to write this instead as a third root of x squared minus 4x to the power of 2. And that also follows from another exponent rule, and that's the exponent rule that says this, that a to the power of m over n, the thing that's in the numerator stays as an exponent, and the thing that's in the denominator becomes the root. And so that's our final answer for that first thing that we're told to differentiate. Now keep in mind, we could also write that in Leibniz notation, and so it would be written as dy over dx, which is the same thing as writing y primed. And that is our final answer using the chain rule, and then making sure we write everything finally at the end with a positive exponent. Now we are told to differentiate the following. In this case, we have two functions that are multiplied together. I'm going to take two approaches to this because they both work. The first approach I'm going to take to this is I'm going to apply the product rule. The product rule says take the derivative of the first function and multiply it by the second, and take the first function and multiply it then by the derivative of the second function. And we're adding those two things together. So that's the product rule. But the other way we could do this is we could expand this whole thing out. And if we expanded everything out, I wouldn't have any more brackets, and I wouldn't have to apply the product rule at all. But it is worth noting that the product rule does need to be used in certain circumstances, but it doesn't have to be here. So if we go to expand this out, we take the first terms in the brackets and multiply them together. We get negative 4x cubed. Then we multiply the first and last terms, and we get 32x to the fifth. Inside terms, 3x times x gives me 3x squared. And the last two terms, 3x times negative 8x cubed, gives me negative 24x to the fourth. And so now it's just a matter of taking the derivative of each of these using the power rule for derivatives. And before I do that, though, I'm just going to reorder this so that I have the biggest power of x first all the way down to the smallest power of x. Just helps us organize our thinking so that we can show it more clearly. So now what we are going to do is we're going to finally take the derivative here. And I'm going to go ahead and take 5 times 32. That gives me 160. And then my power on x becomes 1 less. So 160 times x to the fourth. Then 4 times 24 is 96, and that power on x becomes 1 less, x cubed. And then 3 times 4 is 12. That power of x is x squared now. And then 2 times 3 is 6, x to the power of 1. Again, all the powers of x go down by 1. So let's go back now to the product rule, and let's consider how we would do it using that. The first thing we do is take the derivative of negative 4x squared plus 3x. The derivative of negative 4x squared is negative 8x. The derivative of 3x is 3. And then g of x, we just keep that the same, so 8x minus 8x cubed. And then f of x, I'm going to write this out as negative 4x squared plus 3x. Nothing's changed from that. But now the derivative of g of x is going to be 1 minus 24x to the power of 2. The 3 times 8, and then make my power on the x 1 less. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand out the two sets of binomials that I have there. And so I'm going to do first, outside, inside, last. So the first terms in this set of brackets, the outside terms, the two inside terms now, and finally the last terms. The 3 times negative 8x cubed gives me negative 24x cubed. I'm going to do the same thing, multiply the first terms here, then the outside terms, then the inside terms, and finally the last terms. And that's going to give me the following. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to collect like terms. And one way I like to do this, just to make sure I don't make mistakes, is I like to put different symbols around different powers or degrees of x. So 64x to the fourth plus 96x to the fourth gives me 160x to the fourth. Now I'm going to look at the x to the power of 3 terms, which is going to give me negative 24 minus 72, which gives me negative 96x to the 3. And then I'm going to look at my x squared terms. I have the negative 4x squared, but I also have the negative 8x squared at the beginning. And I combine those to get me minus 12x squared. And then the last two that I'm left with are 3x and 3x, which gives me 6x. And what you can see is that's the exact same answer that I did by first expanding it. So let's now look at a situation where we would have to use the product rule. We couldn't necessarily expand it first. That's going to be our next example. So you might notice here that because this is a fraction, we could use the product rule, as I already mentioned, but you might also say, well, can't you also use the quotient rule? And you could. But it's worth noting that in university, the product rule is what you go to almost every single time. You almost never use the quotient rule. So while it's useful to use the quotient rule, the product rule is a little bit better to be able to work every single time, regardless of the situation. You'll notice here what I've done is I've written the denominator as a negative exponent. And once I do that, I can look at that as a product of two things, and I can apply the product rule. So here's the product rule again, just like it was before. We take the derivative of the first function times the second function, plus the first function times the derivative of the second function. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and apply the chain rule to the 3x minus 5 to this all squared. So 2 comes out front, the degree on the 3x minus 5 is 1 less, and the derivative of the inside is just 3. And then we multiply that by g of x, and g of x is 5x minus 7 to the power of negative 3. That hasn't changed. It's just as it's written that in the line I have up above. And now we write that 3x minus 5 squared, that's f of x, and we now take the derivative of g of x. So the derivative of that is negative 3, because the negative 3 comes out front. The degree becomes 1 less the negative 3, which is now negative 4. And the derivative of the inside is just 5. So that's applying the chain rule to g of x now. And now what we can do is we can go ahead and try to common factor out the least power of each binomial. Now you'll notice as well, I'm also common factoring out a 3 because I notice there's a multiple of 3 in both of the terms that are being added together. So the least power of the first binomial is 3x minus 5. The least power is 1. Notice the other one is 1 degree higher. And then of the other binomial, we have 5x minus 7 to the negative 4. And notice that the other one is 1 degree higher than negative 4. And so the one that's lower is the one we factor out. So I can take a common factor of 3 out. I can take 3x minus 5 to the power of 1 out. And I can take a 5x minus 7 to the power of negative 4 out. And so now what I can do is I write brackets now, and I keep everything else that stays after common factoring those terms out. So we still have the 2 that's left there, but the 3x minus 5 to the power of 1 and the 3 have been common factored out. But we have 5x minus 7 to the power of 1. And the reason we have that to the power of 1 is because if you take the 5x minus 7 to the power of 1 and you multiply it by the 5x to the 7 minus 7 to the power of negative 4, then you add the exponents because they have the same base, and that would give us back an exponent of negative 3. Now on the other side of the addition sign, you can see that there's a minus sign. And you can also see that because we had 3x minus 5 squared, we still had a factor of 1 left there. And so the minus sign and the 5 leaves us with a negative 5. And then that's the end of the common factoring there. And so now what we can do is we can go ahead and collect the terms that I've written in the square brackets and just simplify that. So I don't need to write a power of 1 if it's not there. And if it has a negative exponent, that means it can come down to the bottom. So we can write this as a positive 4 on the bottom. And then in the square brackets, I'm going to have 2 times 5x, which gives me 10x. 2 times negative 7, which gives me negative 14. And then I can multiply the negative 5 times the 3x and the negative 5, which gives me a minus 15x and a positive 25. And the last step I want to do here is just collect those like terms in the square brackets, and they don't have to be square brackets. I've just written them there just for clarity's sake. So I'm going to write everything now without square brackets. So the 10x minus 5x gives me negative 5x, and then the negative 14 plus 25 gives me plus 11. And there is your final answer. Now it's worth noting that if you used a derivative calculating program, it might also take a negative 1 factor out of here and put it out front. So it would have negative 3 in the front, and then it would have 5x minus 11 in that last factor, which is the same thing. It's just moving where that negative 1 is. But that's not the only way to do that. The product rule works every time, and that's why it's so useful, and that's why you need to be really comfortable with it. But the other way we could have done this is we could have used the quotient rule. If we use the quotient rule, then we are not going to make our g of x function be written as a negative 3. We're going to keep it as 5x minus 7 to the power of 3. And so when we go to take the derivative, here's the general form of the quotient rule. It's the derivative of the first function times the second function, minus the derivative of the second function times the first function. Divide all of that by the second function squared. And so once we do that, we can now apply that to our specific function. So h primes of x is going to be this. The derivative of the first function, we've already calculated this and walked through the chain rule. You can see how I've applied the chain rule on the left side where I use the product rule. So I'm not going to take the time to explain that again. But g of x, I just subbed in 5x minus 7. But remember, it's to the power of 3 now. It's not negative 3, it's to the power of 3. Because the quotient rule does not bring up that denominator and make it a negative. So the derivative now of g of x, again, I've done that on the left side there. You can see where I've applied the chain rule. And so that's 3 times 5x minus 7 all squared times 5. And then times the original function f of x, 3x minus 5 all squared. And so now I'm going to divide all of that by the denominator squared. So 5x minus 7 all to the power of 3. But then I'm squaring that. And so when I go to square that, what I'm going to do is the power of a power rule for exponents tells me that that's going to be an exponent of 6. Now you'll notice I have some common factors here. I have a common factor of 3 in the numerator, and I also have a 3x minus 5 to the power of 1. That's the lowest power of the binomial. I'm always trying to factor out the lowest power of the binomial. For the 5x minus 7, the lowest power of that one is 2. So I'm going to common factor out the 3. I'm going to common factor out the 3x minus 5 to the power of 1. And I'm going to common factor out the 5x minus 7 to the power of 2. And so now, the nice thing here is we don't have any negative exponents, which sometimes confuses people. So now what I'm left with in the first set of terms there before the minus sign is I'm left with 2 times the 3x minus 5 to the 1 and the 3 have been common factored out. So just the 5x minus 7 to the power of 1. And then on the other side of the minus sign, I have already common factored out the 3 and the 5x minus 7 to the power of 2. So I'm left with 5 and 3x minus 5 to the power of 1. As I already noted, the denominator becomes degree 6. And what you'll notice now, and this will almost always happen if you have higher order binomials there, is some of the factors of the denominator's binomial will cancel out. And so you can see there that we had 2 factors of 5x minus 7 on the top, and we had 6 on the bottom, and we can cancel out those factors to give us a power of 4 on the bottom. So now all I'm doing is I'm expanding outwards in the square brackets. 2 times 5x gives me 10x, 2 times negative 7, negative 14, negative 5 times 3x is negative 15x, and negative 5 times negative 5 is 25. And so I have the 5x minus 7 to the power of 4 on the bottom. Now I'm just going to collect the like terms in the square brackets and write those out in round brackets. Again, the only reason I had the square brackets was just to make it more easy to see. But now that it's simplified, I don't need them anymore. So negative 5x plus 11 all over 5x minus 7 to the power of 4. And that's the exact same answer as we had on the left side. And so that's how to apply the quotient rule. That's also, as we saw earlier, how to apply the product rule. And that's a great review of the power rule, of the chain rule, of the product rule, and of the quotient rule. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. Check out the playlist on the left for more calculus videos that are being added to, and then check out the video recommended on the right for something else that might be helpful based on what I've done in the past. I hope that was helpful. Thanks so much for watching.